Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Gathering Movement interview series. I'm here today with Brianna Rose. Hi.
Hi, I am just so pumped to be here today.
Me too. We were just saying, we don't even know the last time we actually talked or caught up, but this is really so special because you were one of my first coaches. So just so full circle right now having you in this space.
Yes, I'm honored to be here. And like I said just a couple minutes ago, I missed you so much. And it's so cool to see and be a part of all of the magic that you're creating in the world. It's so special.
Well, thank you. I, of course, appreciate that. We've been starting off the series with, a really just simple question, which is, how does your work in the world empower someone to be the leader of their life?
Oh, such a good question. I love it. I created the Light Leader Collective because I knew there needed to be a change in the world, and I knew it needed to be far greater than just me. And I knew that the tools that I was using was working, but I was like, there's only one of me doing this, and there's billions of people on the planet. I need to spread this work. And my whole philosophy is we need to be creating light legacies. We need to be just raising the vibration of the planet, and that can't happen if entrepreneurs are hiding their gifts, specifically the healers, the coaches, the mentors, the teachers. And I find most people that align in those industries are epic at what they do, but they're not so epic at building businesses and getting their work out there. And I was like, that's who I want to help. I want to help the people that can help heal the world. And that's just been my focus since day one, is just building community and getting the light leaders out there and creating long-lasting change in the world, on the planet, just even beyond our generation, for all the generations to come.
Okay, we're done. But really, isn't that the greatest gift of all? To make this mission more than ourselves. And what I always appreciated is when we are talking about coming together and doing this work, because it's not easy when it's just one person saying, okay, I'm interested in healing people or creating a business. It's a whole different thing when we are coming together and joining arms and hands and hearts and actually doing the damn thing.
Yes. Oh, yes. Together we have to rise. And I think we all start singular, right? We all start with ourselves, and then we have to get out of our own little bubble and get out there and break through that and allow ourselves to be seen, heard, and supported. And once we do that, we get to connect with like-minded people. We start to realize that that we're not alone in this, right? I remember when I had my first spiritual awakening, I'm it's just me. I thought it was just I was ah. And then you get out there, you're oh, wait, no, there's a bunch of people out there like me. So it just reminds you that we're not alone, and that we're all so connected in so many different ways, far more than we could ever even imagine.
Absolutely. What do you think this world would look like if more individuals activated and turned on their gifts and said yes to themselves? What would the world actually look like?
Oh my God, I get chills thinking about it. That is literally why I do what I do. And inside of my certification program, where I teach students this work and Kundalini and all of the magic, one thing that I say to them is could we imagine if everyone in the world was activated, learn how to turn on their Kundalini energy, work through their shit. I don't know if I can curse on this, but work through their shit. And wasn't sure, imagine if we had people that were healed and went through their traumas and were able to come out of it and had the tools process. And granted, we're humans, we're not always gonna be perfect, but we would be living in a far different world. And I think we're just at the beginning stages of literally creating an entire new earth. And it really begins with us doing the deeper work and then sharing it. And I think that's been the beauty of COVID. If we can kind of think about a positive piece of it, is people are realizing that they have to work through some things because they've been home for so long. And, when you're home and you're quiet, it's when the stuff comes up, and so I think a lot of people are realizing that they need help. And I really feel our industry specifically of coaches, mentors, teachers, healers, it hasn't even boomed yet. I think we're just at the beginning phases of it, because there's so many people out there that are just craving connection and intimacy with themselves and sovereignty. And I don't know, it's really beautiful to see and to hold the vision for it and then actively see the beginning phases of it starting to happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with this past year, and it really just being a beautiful opportunity for people to get to know themselves better, for them to get to know others better, for them to see a different way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
And although very challenging in many, many ways, there's always beauty in everything if we choose to see it that way.
Yeah, agreed. We get to choose what frequency we're subscribed to, and there's always an option. There's always, you know, light and dark, yin and yang, Shiva and Shakti. Like there's always at least two things that we can look at and decide which path are we going to go down.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember first being, I think, drawn to your work because of the word Kundalini. And I had been practicing for maybe a year and a half at that point, but I was like, okay, I can combine like Kundalini and business. Okay. But I don't think I know like how you got started in that. How did Kundalini find you?
Yeah. Great question. She definitely does find us when we're ready to work with her. I discovered Kundalini about a decade ago. And it's like, you know, a very typical like story of like, you know, going through a spiritual awakening, feeling like I was just like going crazy. I'd always been super intuitive growing up, but I kind of suppressed it because I was scared of it, you know, scared of seeing energy. And then when I was in my early 20s, one of my close friends passed away. And that just kind of cracked me open in so many different ways. And like all the gifts that I had been suppressing were just like blaringly right in front of my face. And at the time, it was, even though it was only 10 years ago, it was just a different world. Like people weren't openly talking about meditation and Kundalini and sage and like all, like it just wasn't a conversation that was happening publicly as it is now, which is so cool. And I remember feeling so alone. And I was like, what do I do? And I was just like, I don't know. I was on the internet, you know, maybe Instagram, I forget. And somehow I came across Gabby Bernstein's work. And at the time I was like fully in like, you know, my masculine. I was a PR marketing director. Like my brain was not thinking about like the feminine stuff or meditation or anything, but she popped up and I was like, okay, like I can kind of get on her vibe. Like she's also a New Yorker. She also did PR and yet she's standing there talking about all this like hippy dippy stuff, but I kind of get it. And I bought her book, May Cause Miracles. And in it, she speaks about Kundalini. And I remember being really afraid because when I Googled it, I was like, I don't know, it seems like a cult. Like, I don't know about this. This is kind of weird. But she was practicing it. And I was like, all right, well, she's doing it. And she seems kind of cool. I'm going to try it. And it ended up being that the only studio on Long Island where I'm from was right next door to where I was working. And I was like, all right, this is kind of, I think this is like a universal sign. I was still like learning that lingo. I was like, I think this is a sign. I'm not sure. And I walked in and it was like a really like just dark day for me. My anxiety was through the roof. I was just like, oh, like just I was in it. And I walked in and in my head, I was like, I can do yoga. Like, this is fine. I was a dancer for 15 years. I'll be fine. And I walked in, everyone was in white with their turbans on. And I was like, like a traditional New Yorker, I was dressed in all black, you know, like that was just that. I was like, this, I don't fit in at all. And did all this like crazy poses and breath work. And I was like, this stuff is kicking my ass. Like, what is this thing? And as much as I was like, WTF, like the whole time in my head, I was also starting to feel better. So I was like, what is this? But I'm also feeling better. I don't know what's happening. Like, what is happening? Like, there was just so many thoughts coming up. It was a 90-minute class and I walked out and I was like, oh, I feel like myself again. Like all of a sudden, like the heaviness, the darkness had shifted. Didn't last forever, but it was like a break in the gray cloud, you know, like the sun was starting to pour through and it lasted for like an hour, but I was like, an hour of happiness is good. You know, like this is, I was going 24 hours without it. Like this is some good stuff. And I started to just learn more about it and I became like a little obsessed with it, just playing with energy. And I always really loved the teachings. I didn't always align with how it was being taught. It felt really restrictive to my body and to my energy. So I did a lot of self-study with it, with like awakening the energy, playing with it. And I just had a lot of fun. And that's what I spent years doing, was like kind of doing my own science experiment with Kundalini and playing with it. And I was like, this is cool. Like, it's working. But I was doing it very different. And at the time I didn't have the verbiage, but I was like, I'm like modernizing this thing. And I was just kind of playing with it in my body. And I was like, all right, when I do it at this time, this happens. When I do it for a minute instead of the prescribed 11 minutes, what's happening? And I just like was just doing a ton of experiments. I was a little guinea pig for Kundalini there for like 4 years. And then I started to make the connection between success frequencies and vibration and activation of the Kundalini energy and business. And I was like, all right, like I feel like this is like the blend of the both worlds. Because I always loved business, but I was like, I felt like I couldn't be spiritual though. Like I felt like it had to be like this one really strict way. And I was like, what if I just like threw out the rules and made my own way of business? Like if I was just happy, because I wasn't happy doing one or the other. I was like, what if I blended them together? What would actually happen? And it was magic when I started to blend it together, because I started noticing that so many people would get stuck at different phases of building their business, whether it was like launching or pricing or receiving or messaging. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, why are people getting stuck at all these different phases? And then I started to correlate their energy using the 5 element theory to like their blocks and their rhythms to their body and their success. And I was like, all right, well, now that we've identified the block, how do we work through it? And I was like, I'm like, okay, the meridians run through the Kriyas. Let's see how we can now blend 5 element theory with the Kriyas and like use the Kriyas as medicinal for someone's business and their energy. And the second I started doing that, people were just having like rapid awakenings and rapid results. And I was like, okay, I was like, I cracked the code, it's happening. And I launched my first one-on-one mentorship program. Now that was like 3-4 years ago now. And it just like took off like wildfire. I couldn't even like hold on to it. And I was still just like fully in the Kundalini experience and studying it. And I really have spent like the last couple of years studying Kundalini, even beyond yoga and meditation, really figuring out where it started, where it came from. Like I started more on like the superficial level, I think, and then gradually it's just gotten so deep, and I love it. I still to this day spend so much time studying Kundalini. It's my favorite thing in the world. And from that one-on-one mentorship program, very similar to your first question, I was like, there's only one of me. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many clients that I can help. Like, I just want to get this work out there. What do I do? And then that's where I created my group coaching program, the Ascension Academy, which is where I met you. And I was like, all right, this is cool. We get to just help more people. And that's always been the number one thing for me, is how much impact can I make in someone's life? And the income just naturally, I think, follows that. When you're aligned and centered with like helping the world, the universe is like, all right, we're going to hook you up. Like the clients are to come for you, because she's like, it's just heart centered and just so connected. So yeah, that's how I got into Kundalini. That's why I'm still in it with Kundalini. It's just been such a blessing. And it's the most powerful thing, I think, on the planet, because it's us activating ourselves. And I think that's the power of it, and why, it can get so much transformation and results for people, is because you're not looking for the guru outside of yourself. You're finding the guru from within. And like, when you learn that, I mean, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah. And I think I guess the word wouldn't be funny, but it's beautifully synchronistic that you took the teachings into your own hands and you're like, I'm just going to study this for myself, because isn't that what the Age of Aquarius is all about? It's you being the teacher. It's me being the teacher.
Yes. And I love that you brought that up, because I hope that inspires other people, because we are still in this like transition phase from Piscean to Aquarian. Even though we are in the Aquarian age, there's just remnants of the Piscean age. And I think so many people, because I specifically work with entrepreneurs, but I see so many entrepreneurs that want to break free and like want to like crack the mold or whatever. And it doesn't have to be Kundalini. It's like whatever industry that they're in, but they're so afraid because like, this is how it's always been taught. And like, this is the way. And I think it's really important for us to know that like our intuition is so strong, and we're always being guided. And this is an opportunity right now to really break through all of that and use our skill sets and blend them together. There's a reason why we went through everything in our life. It's to kind of like cultivate this like spiritual toolkit. And it's not just one thing or the other. It gets to be all of it together. And that's what really I found through discovering Kundalini and then bringing in the Chinese medicine and then bringing in the business, I was like, oh, it gets to be I get to just be me. Like, how amazing is that? I don't have to be like one little slice of the pie. I get to be the entire pie and do all of the things that excite me. And it's so liberating when we allow ourselves to experience that.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful how you've been able to weave and infuse Kundalini yoga, entrepreneurship, business, Chinese medicine, and then you. And I think that I think you called it something in the program, and I can't remember what it was called.
The Sacred Squirrel.
Yes. It's about everyone. Everyone has their unique parts of them. Everyone does. And I think the first step is saying yes to ourselves of like, that is enough. Like the things that you're interested in, that's enough. And you can bring that into your world and most importantly, your business.
Yeah, totally. We don't have to be this or that. We get to be this and that. Like we get to be the and, not the or. And I think once we just allow ourselves, like that's actually the most expansive thing possible, rather than trying to pigeonhole yourself or put yourself in a box and just kind of follow what everyone else is doing. Change can't happen if we're constantly following the leader, right? Or constantly following the guru on the pedestal. When we recognize that we are the guru and we actually know what's right for ourselves, at least, and we follow that, I mean, life just gets so much more fun. And granted, of course, there's healing along the way because there will always be, because we're human beings, but it gets to be a lot more flow and fun and exciting and expansive. And it's just a self-discovery journey, coming back home to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Where do you think in this new paradigm of leadership, in this new world that we are birthing and being part of right now, where does moving beyond the 9 to 5, the 40-hour work week, where is the freedom in the new paradigm of leadership with our lives?
Yes. Oh, I love this question. Again, I think, there's like obviously so much horrible things that happened with COVID, right? But I think another one of the good pieces is people realize that it doesn't have to be at work 9 to 5 in a cubicle. Like people were forced to be home and, have more flexibility in their day. And I think we got to realize how important family is and quality of life. And a lot of us realize that we're not going to be here on the planet forever. So why don't we make the best use of the time that we have here? And I think that's like the starting of this like revolution, like entrepreneurial revolution. I think there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs that come out of this because people got a little taste of it. And also I think, specifically with my parents' generation and, older, it was like drilled that safety was 9 to 5. Like, no, don't be an entrepreneur. That's crazy. 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, when we're actually realizing that your 9 to 5 could be taken from you in a day. Like, look at how many people lost their jobs and then had nothing to do and didn't have a skill set, didn't have, something tangible they could turn into a business. Like they were just here today, gone tomorrow. And as an entrepreneur, we just have that natural grit, I think, to just like find the thing that lights us up and then share it and still make money and support ourselves and be free. And I think, that is actually the safer bet right now. Like the safer bet is being an entrepreneur and knowing that you can make money every single hour, every single second, every single minute of the day, while also having freedom, doing your business on your own terms, creating the life that you desire. And I think me and you have obviously been on this journey for a while now, but I think a lot of people are starting to pivot and transition into that and realizing that it could be an actual thing. Like it can actually happen for them. And also that the 9 to 5 actually doesn't equate safety. We get to create our own abundance. We get to create our own life. We get to create our own destiny. And like I said, we're only here for a very short period of time. So we might as well go after it and make the best of it.
Yeah, I do like to think about death. I really think it's very healthy for us to do so because it seems to be the thing that no one wants to talk about. It's but
it's inevitable.
It's like this is the elephant in the room, but it's like that is the only certainty. It's like change and death. So I think this year also allowed us to say, okay, our time on earth as in this physical human form is somewhat limited. How are we going to live? What are we going to choose to do with our hours of the day, our relationships, our life?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it makes you really rethink things when you realize like, oh, I actually don't know. Like we know what's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. Even though so many of us are so intuitive, we don't know. And it makes you really rethink your values and your quality of life. And I would imagine for most people, the quality of life isn't working 9 to 5. I mean, me and you from the East Coast, it's not really 9 to 5. It's like 9 to 9. You know, it's like that's like what's, you know, ingrained in us. Is that really the life that we want to look back on and be like, oh, so happy I put in those 80 hours? Like, no, it's probably going to be, I wish I had tried this, or I wish I had traveled more. Or I wish I spent this much more time with my parents or my partner or my siblings or my friends. And at least I know that's what I'm taking away from all of this. Even me, like I have definitely redefined even our business model, because I'm like, all right, well, I need to experience more and get out there and share this work. And, you know, really just, it definitely created a little fire underneath my butt for sure too. Even though it was already there, it just like lit it up a little bit more to kind of pivot and to accelerate what I've already been doing. And I think that's for a lot of people, it's like, I found that this reality is like, all the things that they've wanted to do are now like so blazingly apparent in front of their faces. And it's like, oh, I think I actually have the opportunity to do it. Or maybe now's the time. Like, I think we're all just starting to think differently because we got to see the darkness of what happened over this last year and how can we transmute it and use it as fuel.
And I think it's such a blessing for someone who defines themselves as a leader, or they want to feel like they're a leader.
Yeah.
Pivoting and changing your mind and redirecting your focus and redirecting your compass, that's beautiful. And you get to do that. And like, that's part of it. So can you allow yourself to do that? Or are we still staying stuck in like, I have to do this? And I think everything we've talked about, like in this conversation and reflecting on this past year, is allowing people to say, I think I can pivot. Like, I think it's time.
Yes. Oh, yes. You know, there's like this like weird version of safety that I think we feel that we have in staying in the same lane over and over and over and over and over again. And we think it's comfortable because we're like staying in the safe zone, but it's actually extremely uncomfortable, right? It's like, it's actually like a living hell, I think, for a lot of people because they actually want to do something else. So for anyone that's listening and thinking about pivoting, go for it. You can always go back to what you're doing. And I think that's what I just think about. I'm like, well, I can stay where I'm at, and that's not actually where I want to be, or I can grow, stretch, and learn. And if I don't like it, I can always go back to where I am. Like, that's always going to be an option. But I might as well try and take a leap of faith. And normally you don't look back. Normally, once you just kind of, you know, claim it and then leap, you're good. And you're like, wow, I'm so happy I did that. And I say this to a lot of my students, and I want to share this today is, you know, when we listen to our intuition, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's normally it's the thing that makes the least logical sense. Yeah. But I've never listened to my intuition and thought, I shouldn't have done that. You know, it's like we always listen to our intuition and we're like, it was such a weird thing that I like thought I should do. And I'm so happy I did it. Most of the time we regret when we don't listen to the intuition, when we follow the logical mind. And then we're like, that kind of blew up in my face. I should have listened to that voice. And I think for many of us, it's reconnecting with that voice and making him or her a lot stronger within us. That way we can use that as our guide.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, as you're saying all this, I'm reflecting on, I guess it was 3 years ago I did the Ascension Academy. I don't really remember exactly. The biggest thing that my intuition said was use your voice. You have to use your voice. And like, thank you for being the conduit to allow me to step into that, because my entire life, my entire business is all about amplifying the voices of change makers, of leaders. It's all about the voice.
I love it. It's been amazing to see what you've created. And it was just under 3 years ago. So a lot has happened. And I think, you know, when we step into that, time just collapses. Because I think about what you've done, I think what I've done, it's like, it doesn't make sense that all that could happen in just a couple of years, like for the regular human. But when you just like claim it and go after it and trust yourself, time just works in your favor.
Yeah. Oh, so true. We could probably spend a whole other hour on like talking about timelines, stepping into like the frequency that you want to live in, you know, all that jazz. What is next for you and the business, or even just like you in life?
Yeah, I've been reflecting a lot on this. With the business specifically, we still have the Ascension Academy, and it's just It's just like the most beautiful thing in the world. I just love it. 3 years that we've launched it is in March. So we're having an enrollment for, I know it's wild. So we're having another launch for March's Collective. It's a 3-year anniversary. It's a whole big thing that's coming up. So that just is so yummy and exciting. And I'm so connected to it, and seeing all the women go through that program is just such a gift. And then we have the Light Leader Certification Program. And that brings me so much joy, because like I said in the beginning, there's only one of me, and I just kept hearing the message, like, create more teachers, like you're burning out, like you got to duplicate yourself. So yeah, we got to get the work out there. You can't do it all by yourself. And it took time. It took like 2 years to create that program. And for any entrepreneur that's listening, it's not one of those things, like success doesn't come from idea and then immediate action. You have to integrate. And that program took just about 2 years to put together. So that's a huge, like, exciting piece, is just teaching people this work and getting the work out there in a far greater way. So those two things are just my main focus. And whenever I'm allowed to get on stage again, would love to get on stage and speak and teach and do all of that. That just lights my soul up. Who knows? I'm hoping for the summer that we can do that. That's my manifestation. And then personal life, I mean, I've just been focusing more on staying in my own lane in the business, and hiring support. So that way I can be in the creative visionary state that I love to be in. And I'm realizing that requires a lot of downtime for me. And that's tough, because being a native New Yorker, downtime kind of like not an option. So it's been, as much as you would think having downtime is easy, it's like the most hardest thing for me. It's like the biggest lesson for me. So that's something that I'm really working on, is allowing myself to be in the downtime, experiencing, playing, and it's all fun stuff. But like I said, it's like the toughest thing for me too. That's my lesson right now. And of course, creating epic memories with my partner and our yummy little dog, and just experiencing life. And our goal is to get a van soon, and I want to travel around the States and just, hug a tree and be in the mountains and do all of that. So that's to come. That's what I'm manifesting in my personal life.
That sounds amazing. And I can so resonate with the downtime thing. So like, thanks for that reminder and just like bringing it to the forefront. I'm a pitta. I have a generator. I have so much energy. I'm like, what do you mean stop? Like, why would I stop?
Yes, it's so hard, but it's such a good lesson to work on.
Yeah, I agree. How can people enter your world? How can they find you? Give us all the things.
Yes. Well, Instagram for sure, at I am Brianna Rose. At the time of us recording this, we're holding a Kundalini challenge, a Light Leader Kundalini challenge that's happening on February 10th. So if you want to get in on the magic, we're hooking it up this round. It's entirely free, and we're really just all about creating a movement of light. And we get over 1,000 people that enroll. So you get to just be in like this like palpable, like energy of like 1,000+ humans practicing together, working together. It's just such a visceral experience, and you get to be connected in sisterhood and community. So if that aligns, would love to support you. And you get me as your mentor for 40 days. So that's super fun. So yeah, Instagram or the Kundalini challenge are the two big things right now. And I'm just, if anyone just gets a hit from this or wants to say hi, I'm in the DMs. Like, it's not a robot or an assistant. Like, it's me, and I love connecting with people. I'm all about that and creating community and connecting with like-minded people.
Well, just thank you. And thank you for your coming here today. Thank you for everything you've done for me and for so many of the people that I know. It's just been such a beautiful experience and opportunity to be in your energy, and now you to come into this space. So just thank you.
Thank you. This is so fun. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Me too. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for receiving all of the beautiful information, all the beautiful stories that we've been able to share on the channel so far. I think we've done like 30+ interviews now. So we are just rocking and rolling. That's so much more to come. And just thank you everyone for your love and support. Have a beautiful weekend. And thank you, Brianna.
Bye.